Hi, it's me, Laura again. So we were asked to pick three questions um, about ethical dilemmas that have been going on in art. And the first one that I wanted to talk about is the ethical dilemma photojournalist Kevin Carter faced when he photographed a child during the 1993 famine in Sudan. So basically, he's over in Sudan as a photojournalist, and he says that he was instructed not to give any type of aid to the children that he may see or anyone else that he may see struggling because there was such a high risk for him to spread disease from one child to the next if he were to step in and try to do anything to intervene in the situation that was going on. So basically, the photograph showed a vulture that was waiting nearby, and the child was struggling. And I mean, it was the photograph became iconic and it won a Pulitzer Prize, but it also started like some intense scrutiny and controversy around the ethical dilemma of should we be taking photographs or should we be actually putting our hands on to help these people over in Sudan that were struggling? Is it a human rights issue at that point? Well, a lot of people definitely felt like this was wrong. And in the end, Kevin ended up committing suicide after he won his Pulitzer Prize. And it really just brought the question up about, you know, ethical challenges that are faced by these photojournalists when they're in these areas. Exactly what is expected of them? What should they do? How should they respond? To me, I felt I kind of felt both sides of it. I kind of felt Kevin Carter's side of it, where he feels like he was following instructions. Photojournalists, a lot of times when they're in other countries, they're in other places, they will be invited in. But there are going to be certain instructions that may be given to them when they're in those areas, which he claims, if it's true, that his instructions were to not give any type of aid to these children. So I think that he felt as if he was just bringing notice to the issue, that capturing the photograph and bringing it back to America maybe would just spark some newfound interest in the famine that was going on in Sudan, that it could really like help Americans to see how bad that the children over there were really struggling, and hopefully that would incite some humanitarian aid for that child and the rest of the children that he witnessed over there. I wonder sometimes when I'm thinking about this and him committing suicide, was it the face of that child that he couldn't get out of his mind, that he didn't help, that maybe brought him to that place in his life? Or was it the extreme criticism and scrutiny he was under because of um, the photograph? It's really a complicated issue in my opinion. I think that everyone deserves a little bit of grace, and I think that he maybe wasn't given as much as he should have been given. However, I'm glad that it did bring awareness to these issues and these ethical issues that are going on with these photojournalists, because someone should be intervening. I think that pretty much covers that question. The next one that I wanted to talk about was um, oh, it was about the Elgin marbles. So basically, from what I'm understanding, um, the Elgin marbles are in the British Museum. And they're saying that Lord Elgin legally acquired them with permission from the Ottoman Empire, which ruled Greece at the time, and that maybe they just didn't have a place to store them that could preserve them the way that Britain could. So there's a question of, who do the marbles belong to? Obviously, obviously, the marbles are like an integral piece of Greek history. They were made in Greece. They were created there, and they're part of the Greek culture. They're a part of their history. And in my opinion, if Greece now has the capacity to be able to store them and preserve them, then I feel like they should be given back. I feel like that they should go to the rightful owner. I feel like art should, if the culture that the art came from, if the people from that culture prefer it to stay in their homeland, then I feel like that is their right. It belongs to them. They created it. No matter who has it now, it originally came from there. And I just feel like it should be returned. I don't understand what the big deal is about it. I don't understand why they can't just return it. And I also feel like on the other side of it, if these marbles will gain more recognition, like more worldwide recognition, or, will be viewed by a bigger variety of people if they stay in the British Museum, then I don't understand why Greece wouldn't want them there so that they could display their art and their talent and their history in a place where people from all over the world come to view it. So I kind of can see it both ways. But I think at the end of the day, it should be up to Greece. I mean, that's where it originated. And I feel like that's where, if they want it back, it should be. The last question that I decided to choose was, what was David Hammons calling attention to in his work, How You Like Me Now? And what was the response to the work, and why is it still considered controversial? So this one I found really, really interesting. So David Hammons evidently created a painting of Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who is very well known for his role in civil rights in the United States. But instead of creating a real portrait of Jesse Jackson, David Hammons decided to paint him with blonde hair and blue eyes. And in doing this, he was trying to create a conversation around maybe how much bigger could Jesse Jackson have been had he had blonde hair and blue eyes? How much more accepted and received would he have been if he had blonde hair and blue eyes? How much easier would his life have been if he had blonde hair and blue eyes? And I thought it was brilliant. I mean, it really does raise the question. It makes people stop. It makes people stop and look and like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute. We know Jesse Jackson's not blonde, doesn't have blonde hair and blue eyes. Obviously, he's African American. So when we stop and look at that, it just makes us wonder, why did he do that? And it just raises up these issues. And I think that that is like of utmost importance, especially right now in the society that we're living in. These questions need to be addressed. We need to have these conversations. And that painting, it really does excite those conversations. So the next thing that I found just really amazing about this painting is that there were it looks like there were a few Black men who were at the museum in Washington D.C. and they saw the portrait that David Hammons painted of Reverend Jesse Jackson, and not knowing like what the intentions were behind the painting, and not really getting to know like the artist and who even painted it, they got angry because they thought that it was another thing that white people were going to steal from them, which was Jesse Jackson, someone who was just so huge in civil rights and in the United States, and all of really just in world issues when it comes to race. So they were very angry. They took a sledgehammer and they beat the painting. They broke it in pieces. And when they found out why the painting was done that way, and sat down with David Hammons, he decided that he would display the artwork broken, just the way that they had broken it. Because not only did it now draw attention to the fact that Jesse Jackson was this is painted with this blonde hair and blue eyes, but now it's also like, how do people respond to that? What is the conversation around race relations? Why did these Black men feel so compelled to have to destroy this painting? What can we do to try to make this a little bit better? I think that this painting by David Hammons was brilliant. And I love that it raised the conversation. I love that it raised that there is controversy surrounding it. That means people are being forced to think about it. And I just think that we need more of that, like in the world that we live in today. I think we need more art in the world we live in today because I think it really does unite us. Um, and that I definitely have learned a lot about all of the ethical issues that are in art that I honestly had no idea existed. So I appreciate this class for that. Thanks.